Alright, welcome along, my name's Bosh, this is Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits, and today we're going to be looking at more of a theory lesson than an Ableton lesson. This one is going to be on chords and scales. Now, first up, please do like, subscribe, share, comment. I reply to everyone. The channel is growing week by week, and I love everyone for watching and getting involved, so thank you very much firstly for everyone who watches these videos. Now, this video is going to be set up a little bit differently. I'm not going to be in front of the computer. I'm going to be in front of the keyboard. And what I'm going to go through is a few things. It's more of a theory lesson, this one. So we're going to go, what is a chord? We're going to go with the different types of chords. We're going to cover two main different types of chords. And then we're going to look at how to build those chords using the notes on the keyboard, and then how to arrange those chords differently so that you can play them easier and also make different sounds from the same chords. I'm going to cover adding a bass note into your chord, make it sound a bit fuller. And then for the last bit, I'm going to do a little bit on scales, just how to assemble a major and minor scale, which then means you can pick the chords that are going to be in your piece of music, which is quite important. So let's get straight into it. What is a chord? Now, a chord is two or more notes played on the piano at the same time. So this is a chord. This is also a chord. This is a chord. What else? What else have we got? We could do a... That's a chord, all right? So they're all different chords. We went from 2 notes to 5 notes being played at the same time there. And the amount of notes just decides how rich that chord sounds. We're going to cover 2 main types. The first one's major and the second one is minor. There are loads of different other types, but they're the main 2. Now, a major chord tends to sound more positive. I'm going to say. We say happy, joyful, celebratory, all those kind of things, but generally a positive sound. And a minor chord tends to be a more negative sound, so it can be sad, it could be scary, spooky, evil sounding. Anything that's on the sort of more negative side of the emotional spectrum would be what you'd consider to be a minor chord. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to build a chord from scratch. So there's 2 ways to do it. Well, no, there's 1 way for each chord. So a major chord, you want to remember 4 and then 3. And for a minor chord, you're going to remember 3 and then 4. Let's imagine we're playing in C. I'm going to take the C is my first note. And then for a major chord, we're doing 4 first. So I'm going to count 4 single notes up from here. Bear in mind, a single note jump is called a semitone. So I'll be calling it for that from now on. So anywhere on the keyboard where I jump like that, or... yeah, that's called a semitone. A tone is a 2-note gap. So any tone you go 1, 2, that's a tone, that's a tone, all right? So back to the chords. You're going to use 4 and then 3 for a major chord. So we've got our note, we go 4 semitones up from that, yeah, and then we go 3 semitones up from that, and we've got C major. Let's try it somewhere else on the keyboard. So let's do another white note. Let's do F. So we can do F. Let's count 4 notes from F. And then let's count 3 notes from A. And there you've got F major. Now let's try it on a black note just to throw something different into the equation and see if it works. Because at the moment, it's looking like we can just move that shape around, but that's not quite right. So let's go from... let's go from E flat. We're going to count 4 notes from E flat up, and then we're going to count 3 notes from G, and that is our E flat major chord, or D sharp major. Alright, so it works anywhere on the keyboard. I'm going to do 1 more, which is B sharp, just because around the B area things start getting a bit different. So let's do B flat, 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 notes, 1, 2, 3, B flat major. There we go. Alright, so that's how to make a major chord. How to make a minor chord, you're going to do the opposite. So you're going to do 3 and then 4. So let's take your first note, C. Let's count 3 notes up from there. 1, 2, 3. Hold that. And then we're going to count 4 notes up from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your C minor. Alright, again, let's try it in a few different places. So let's go for G flat. We're going to do G flat minor, so we're going to count 3 notes up. 1, 2, 3, and then 4 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, one more time with B again, because it's always a funny one. Let's go B. B minor is going to be 3 notes, and then 4 notes. So that's your B minor chord. Now, another thing to bear in mind with these, it's very easy to switch from a major to a minor chord. If it's a major chord, you're just going to take the middle note, the second note, and you're going to move it down by 1 semitone. So let's observe that in C, C major. We're just going to take this note and move it down 1 to here, and we've got the minor. Same for the minors. If you want to take a minor chord and make it major, do the opposite. Take your middle note and put it back up 1. Alright, so that's the basic way to build major and minor chords. Now, something else I want to talk about before we get into scales is inversions and how to do what we call invert a chord to create what we call a different voice. So, again, let's go C major because it's the easiest one to work with. If I want to make the first inversion of C major, I'm going to take the first note and I'm going to move it up to here. So you know that's an octave. You're going to take the low C and you're going to move it up to a high C. So let's listen how that sounds. The normal one, and then the first inversion. Alright, so it's a little bit brighter, it's got a higher note in there. We can do this again and create what we call the second inversion. And we're going to take what is now the bottom note, the E, and we're going to move that up an octave to here. So let's hear how the first inversion sounds. And then the second inversion. Alright. Let's go through all 3 inversions. We've got C. With the first inversion would be this. And then with the second inversion. Now, apart from making the same chords sound a bit different, another good useful way to implement this is if you're playing the keyboard, if you're an actual player, and you're playing, let's say, a C major to a G major, that's quite a big jump on the piano. I'm having to move all my hand from here all the way up to here and back down. Now to remedy that, we can take that first chord, the C, and we can invert it twice, move it to the second inversion, and it'll make it a lot easier to play, so watch. Bear in mind that's where our G is. We're going to take the C, invert it once, invert it again. And now look how we've got the G here, the C and the E, but then the G chord that we're playing with this C is GBD. So now we can play this chord pattern, C to G, but we can play it a lot easier by doing this. Alright, so that's another thing it does, is it makes it easier to play chords without having to move your hands all over the place. Now, an interesting thing I like to do with these inversions is maybe take a normal chord, so let's take a G major, and I'm going to kind of make inversions but not based on what they are. So I'm going to take this chord and I'm going to move 1 note down. Yeah, that's created a chord. What chord's that created? That's done a B diminished, because that's that. Alright, we could do, let's take an E. Let's move these 2 up. So already you've got quite an interesting chord progression there. And that's to the A, so we're going to go E. E, A. Alright, so again, it just makes it easier than having to move your hand all the way across the keyboard. You can do these smaller finger movements and just make it a little bit easier to do. Now, the last thing we're going to do just on chords alone is doing the bass note for your chord. And it's pretty simple. All you need to do is take your chord, again, C major, and you're going to take this bottom note and you're going to add another version of it down here. Alright, so if I play the C major on its own, it's nice, but it sounds quite thin. Let's add that bass. Yeah, it just rounds it off, gives it a nice fuller sound. Now, on this channel we do a lot of reggae and dub, so you can start to see how you could use this to do, say, like a bubble, like a reggae bubble. So let's put an organ on. So you can start to see now we've got this organ sound. It's a very aggressive organ sound. Alright, so you can see how you could start to use that to make like that bubbly organ sort of sound. Let me put a different organ sound on. Alright, so we've got Ableton's basic tone wheel organ on here, and we're going to do the same thing. Alright, so you could do a slow thing, you could do a more of, like I say, more of a bubbly thing playing both sets of chords. Yeah, so you can see how you could start to utilise the bass note and the chord together to make that bubbly sort of reggae sound. Now the last thing I'm going to do is teach you how to do, how to make a scale, and then how to figure out which chords are in that scale. Because if you look online and you look for chord progressions, you're going to see a load of numbers, and they're going to say that you play the first chord, the fourth chord, and the fifth chord. But if you don't know which scale you're in, you're not going to be able to figure out what's your first, fourth, and fifth. So, for example, like a blues progression is basic 1-4-5. Yeah, real standard classic chord progression. But how do we know what that first, fourth, and fifth chords are? There's two patterns. There's two ways to make a major scale and a minor scale. So let's get straight into those. Again, we're going to use C because it's the easiest one to see. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the tones and the semitones like I spoke about earlier. So remember semitone and the tone. Semitone's a single note, tone's double. We're going to use those combinations of semitones and tones to create a scale. And the way I'm going to talk about it is using a T for a tone and an S for a semitone. Now I will put these up on screen as well so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So a major scale, the way to make a major scale is as follows, and this works all across the keyboard. You're going to go C is your first note, and then you're going to go tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So it's TTS, TTTS. Let's have a look. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And that is the C major scale. Let's try it somewhere else. So let's go for E flat. We're going to do the same thing. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. E flat major. All right, let's do one more. Let's try G. Tone, tone, semitone. Tone, 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 semitone. Easy one. Yeah, so that's a G major chord and the G major scale. Now, the way to work out a minor scale is slightly different from that. You're going to do T, S, T, T, S, T, T. So from C, you're going to go T, S, T, T, S, T, no, S, T, T. Yeah, so that's a C minor chord and a C minor scale. Let's throw a random one. Let's do B flat minor. So B flat minor is going to be T, S, T, T, S, T, T. So we're going to go T, S, T, T, S, T, T. Yeah? And that's it. I'm going to put these up on the screen now. I'm going to do the major chord, the minor chord, the major scale, and the minor scale. Now, once you can work these out, it's going to take a bit of paperwork. I would get a piece of paper and a pen and write them down as you're trying to figure them out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the first, fourth, and fifth chords in the F sharp major scale. So let's get our F sharp. Major scale is going to be tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So all you need to do then is find your first, fourth, and fifth notes. There. Tone, tone, semitone, tone. So that's 1, 2, 3. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's your first, fourth, and fifth notes. So if I were to play the chords on those, I'm going to have to work them out. So we'd go the major 4, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to have to go to that B. And then we're at this one. So basic, it's a bit of a rough one, but yeah, basically that's the first, fourth, and fifth chords. So that's how you can figure it out. Get your root note where you want to start, pick whichever major or minor scale you want to use, find out which notes are the numbers you want to use, and then figure out which chords they are. Now, the chords that are in the scales should use the notes that are in the scale. So that's how you'll know if you're getting it right or wrong. And I think that's about it. I'm going to leave it there. What is a chord? Any two or more notes played together. The two types of chord are major and minor. Major is happy, minor's sad. Major's positive, minor's negative. The gaps on the keyboard, a single note gap is called a semitone, a two note gap is called a tone. Building a chord, to build a major chord, you're going to remember 4 and then 3. To build a minor chord, you're going to remember 3 and then 4. You take your first note, you move 4 notes and then 3 notes, and so on. Inversions, you take the bottom note and move it up an octave. Adding the bass note, you take the root note, your first note, and you add the octave below it. Doing that, you can add different notes, but then you're getting into slash chords. It's a little bit more complicated, but I'll quickly show you. You can play a C with a C in the bass. You can play a C with a G in the bass. Or you can play a C with an F in the bass. C with an E in the bass. I need to press the right keys, it'd help. So you can hear how each one of those has a different sound on its own. Then we covered scales, how to do a major scale. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. And then the minor scale is tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. And that's it. I'm going to leave it there. That has been Chords and Scales. My name is Bosh. Thanks for watching Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits. Please do like and subscribe and all that business. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.